Welcome back to another episode of Ingrid's World. Yes, I'm excited because we get to talk about two of my favorite topics, children and education. We get to talk to a leading educator that challenges us to rethink educational practices and use the word fun and broccoli to make his point. Another guest will discuss a 3-year grant project coming from the United States Department of Education designed to improve the health and fitness literacy of students. Our last guest I will introduce you to is a young man that's shaking up Washington, D.C., living a life of integrity, style, and thankfulness. Let's welcome to the show Dr. Anane Olatunji, president of Anane Education Incorporated. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so very much for the invitation.
Well, let's first start about talking a little bit about yourself.
I'd be happy to. I guess I should start by saying, despite my unusual name, actually I'm from the proud city of New Orleans.
New Orleans.
My experience in education is extensive and diverse. Previously, for example, I have taught kindergarten all the way through college. More recently, I have worked as an educational researcher here in the metro area, including in Fairfax County Public Schools. And for the last 2 years, I have dedicated myself to establishing an education consulting firm, Anane Education, LLC.
LLC. Well, what's the mission of Anane?
Ingrid, we are aligning education for the 21st century. Now, by that, I simply mean that we're helping schools and other educational agencies to create educational programs that nurture the hearts as well as the minds of young people. In doing so, we laid the foundation for the type of thinking and creativity that we need for the global economy.
See, and that's really important. Well, how do educators help build the environment for the students?
Well, there are 3 services that we use to help them with their educational programs. The first is professional development. A second is program evaluation. And the third is technical assistance. Through professional development, we help educators not only to learn about our educational philosophy, but also we give them specific strategies that they can use to implement that philosophy. Through program evaluation, we simply help them to measure their results so that they'll know whether or not the programs are actually working. And through technical assistance, we do any number of things to help educators implement their programs effectively.
Some powerful services that you're offering.
I'd like to think so.
So tell us about some of your successes.
Well, I'm going to press you to go to our website and see the variety of things we're doing locally and nationally. But I'd like for this time that we have here to highlight an example that we recently conducted in the District of Columbia.
Oh, great.
It was an after-school program evaluation. After-school programs, you may know, provide enrichment activities, things like arts, games, tutoring, music, etc. The purpose is to develop students not only intellectually, but also develop them socially. And so earlier this year, the Office of the State Superintendent of Education in Washington, D.C., chose Anane Education as its external evaluator.
Wow.
Now, we studied about 4,000 kids in the after-school programs over a period of about 4 years. And we found some impressive results. I'm going to highlight a few of those for you. In terms of test scores, for example, we found that not only did the students who participated in after-school programs do much better on average than the district as a whole.
Really?
Right, but they also made substantial gains in grades, classroom behavior and attentiveness, and completing their homework.
Wow.
So the activities that took place outside of school, the enrichment activities, seem to have really made a difference on how well the students do inside school.
You know, I think that that's really so important. So if you were to issue a report card for our students, what kind of report card would you be giving? How are they performing in school?
Well, if you talk about the country as a whole, the good news is that we're making progress, especially I'd say at the elementary and middle levels. And I'll give you an example. From 1990 to about 2011, the percentage of 8th graders proficient in math more than doubled. We went from about 15% to 34%. On the other hand, if you do the math, that means about 2/3 were not proficient. So that 34%, that means, yeah, two-thirds are not proficient, and so there lies our challenge. And in fact, most national and international assessments do suggest that we have a lot of kids who are not fulfilling their potential.
Wow. What can be done to change the situation?
Well, I want to suggest to you that we can do a lot to change the situation.
Okay.
First, I'd like to start out with the diagnosis of what the challenge before us is, and it has to do with the concept called student engagement. And that really, plain and simple, is how connected our kids are intellectually and emotionally to the work that they're doing in school. And unfortunately, national surveys indicate that every day, 2 out of every 3 high school students say they're bored in class.
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. So think about the implications, the toll that that is taking on their performance in school. So what I'd like to do is to illustrate that challenge.
Great.
With a little
Okay.
hands-on activity I brought you today.
I like that.
Okay. This activity
Got some milk here.
is called the broccoli model. The broccoli model of education.
Okay.
And it has to do with, for the most part, how so often we're instructing our kids.
Okay.
Now, what I have here is a lovely bowl of broccoli
All right.
with your health in mind,
Okay. Love broccoli.
accompanied by some soy milk.
Oh, like so many.
And
Very good.
this is a spoon for you.
Okay. Ready?
Now, what I thought I would do is make some parallels. You're a bright lady. I'm sure you can make some connections to what I'm doing here and how it relates to education. And I'm going to ask you 3 questions, though, before we get started.
Okay.
And if you answer well, you get to eat this delicious dish all by yourself when we're done.
Okay.
All right. So first of all, would you agree that these are highly nutritious foods?
Absolutely, I would agree.
All right. Great. That's number 1. And number 2, if you want to be healthy, do you think you should eat these?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Number 2. And 3, how likely, however, is it that you would actually eat this combination on a regular basis?
A combination?
Yes, this combination.
Well, you mean together?
I mean together.
You mean really?
I mean really, really, really. Let me make it more appetizing for you.
Never.
Never.
I had to be honest with you. I would never. I can't think of anything that I would eat this with.
Well, okay, let me make my point then. I think we're doing a very similar thing in education with our young people. We're giving them very high standards, rightly so, very high standards academically. However, we're presenting it to them in ways that are just fundamentally in contradiction with the child's nature.
Wow.
I'm not sure how many kids would gulp this down.
None.
So my point, on the other hand, is not that everything should be sugar-coated, okay? Not every lesson has to be entertaining, doesn't have to be fun, but the point is that there is, in fact, a gap between how students perceive education and how the adults perceive it. And in general, as a result of that gap, we're leaving a lot of kids behind.
Wow. And this is a perfect example because, and this is really the model. This is why.
This is the model. This is what I refer
So
to as aligning education with standards rather than with students.
Dr. Olatunji, I had to thank you for being here at the show. Wonderful presentation, great interview.
My pleasure.
Continued success.
All right.
You've been amazing.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Our next guest is Dr. Elizabeth Payne from Fairfax County Public Schools, who will discuss an exciting grant coming from the United States Department of Education. Dr. Payne, thank you so much for being here on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, you are from which organization?
I'm with Fairfax County Public Schools. I'm actually Instructional Services Department.
Wonderful. And what brought you to Fairfax County? How are you here with us?
I am the Instructional Services Coordinator. I was a health and physical education teacher in the school division for about 14 years and then came into central office.
Wonderful. And you came into central office and now you are working on a very important grants program. And I got excited when I heard about it. Tell us about the grant program that you were doing in Fairfax County.
We are very fortunate to get a $2.1 million grant through the Department of Education, U.S. Department of Education. And it's approximately $750,000 a year for a physical education program. So it allows us to provide equipment for schools, functional fitness equipment, curriculum resources to support nutrition education, professional development for teachers, and a variety of curriculum resource and things. We're very excited about the opportunities.
And where are the program being delivered? Are they at all Fairfax County Public Schools or?
This is our third year in the grant and we are now inclusive. Everyone is part of the grant. We started out with approximately 44 schools, then 90 schools, and we were very fiscally responsible in our expenditure, so now all 197 schools are a part of this grant opportunity.
So that's exciting because often you hear with a grant project that they have a couple of model, schools that but now actually it's in your entire system.
Yes, which is great opportunity and some challenges.
It's some challenges, exactly. I was excited about that because one of the nice things about with this grant, I see that you have partners.
Yes, and that's been very exciting. We really wanted a comprehensive approach, so we wanted to affect students before school, after school, and into the summer. So our partners right now at the elementary level is the school-age child care program in Fairfax County and Office of Children, and so that helps communicate in the program for before and after school at the elementary level. In addition to that, we're working with neighborhood and community services, so they use our resources after school and during the summer. And one of our newest partners in the last year is New Life Christian Church in the faith community. They were working with neighborhood and community services and providing recreational opportunities for an underserved population. Wow. So they have some recreational things they do with children. One is some nutrition education components. So we now include them with our community partners and provide them training and equipment and professional development so that they can use this with students in their area.
That's so important because having those partners, so it's more to it. How many students are enrolled in the program?
There are 183,000 students in Fairfax County Public Schools, and so we are mainly a K-10 program. We have some electives in 11th and 12th grade. So I would say approximately 150,000, 160,000 of those students are actively involved in our grant opportunities.
Number. Oh my goodness. What has been the reaction of the youth and the parents in the program?
Parents have been very receptive. Part of this requires some measures that students have to wear a pedometer for 4 to 7 days to track what they do for activities. Some have to do nutrition surveys. So there's a few things that parents at first are not sure about, but once they are involved with it and the students are selected to wear the pedometer, they get very excited. We've had parents anecdotally teachers that the students now want to go shopping with them, go to the grocery store, look at their nutrition options.
Wow.
And so it's become a conversation with the parent when they do those selections in the grocery stores.
So what I love about what you're saying is it's something, yes, that they are doing in school, but they're transferring it also to the home. What have you learned from it thus far?
We've learned that students have some basic knowledge about nutrition, but they also need some additional, more in-depth information. So we are working with teachers about how to do that. The exciting thing about the curriculum resources are they're doing this learning through active, engaging, exciting activities and things. So it's not sort of sit and get some instruction. They're actively moving and building their meals and learning about body composition and doing different activities. So it's a much more engaging process into that learning. We're also learning that we have some great teacher leaders, and we've been able to promote leadership among many of our teachers. So we're very excited about that as well. So we do have some challenges and dig down and get that learning entrenched. And so our assessments are growing, our physical activity levels are growing, but it's going to take several more years, I'm sure. So we're building a new culture.
So building a new culture. I think that's what's really important. So when the grant is over, what's the next step?
I think the next step is to make sure that this is part of our culture and that we do continue to see change. And there will always be the next level of understanding and information. So we really are trying to sustain this with planning for additional professional development opportunities and ensure that students have that continuum of learning from elementary, middle to high school.
Excellent. And I was on your website, and it was just chock full of great information, exercise, and different things that you've been doing there. So really like to commend you in having, as I like to say, a robust website that really shows how you can get involved. If you were to name one important factor that was a result of this grant, what's the most important thing that came out of the grant?
Our project is called the Living Fit in Fairfax project, and when you go to Fairfax County Public Schools website, that's how you can search for it. And I think it's those community partners. We've also extended into working with Fairfax County government, CDC grant, the Community Transformations grant. We're working with different coalitions. So I think that it's that community partnership that's been such a large outgrowth and sort of some unintended consequences in a very good way.
Well, I'd like to commend you for the fantastic work that you're doing and Living Fit Fairfax. Everyone can take note of that. So again,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here on the show, Dr. Payne.
You're
Pleasure
welcome.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Our last guest is a person that makes Washington, D.C. a friendly place. Whether it's on Capitol Hill or on stage rocking to the beat, he's a star. Please welcome to the show, Travis Worthy. Well, what brought you to Washington, D.C.?
Well, Ingrid, I came to Washington, D.C. with the Honorable Tom Rice. He's the congressman for South Carolina District 7. And I helped him during his campaign. And 14 days before he was leaving for Washington, he asked me to come with him. And so I was honored, and I said yes.
You said yes. What were you doing before you came to Washington, D.C.?
Well, before I came to Washington, I was in Conway, South Carolina, finishing up my college degree at Coastal Carolina University. I got a degree in communications and philosophy, and we're just working on the campaign for the congressman.
Wow. Well, what do you like about Capitol Hill?
I think what I like about Capitol Hill is that you get to see everything that you see on the news, but up close and personal. Yeah, you get to see it up close and personal.
So what's your schedule like?
My schedule is not as hectic as it used to be, but it is hectic. I've since left the congressman's office.
Okay.
And I've taken a job in the private sector for a logistics firm called Prime Advocacy. So now my schedule is a little bit more hectic because it's in the private sector and my bosses are bosses.
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
So what are you doing? What does that position entail?
Well, I'm the director of the logistics firm.
Excellent.
And basically what we do at Prime Advocacy is we make an association's life easier. We handle all their logistics when they're trying to bring their association members to Capitol Hill.
Okay.
We can facilitate you in getting legislative meetings for you. We can handle lodging, transportation, anything logistically that will keep the association from having to work on their business of the day.
Ah, well, that's key, because if you don't know Washington, you can get lost.
You can get lost, and our job is to keep the lost found.
Keep the lost found.
Yes.
I love
And
it.
so
I love it.
We do that, and it's a wonderful service, because you can have 300 to 400 members come to Capitol Hill, association members come to Capitol Hill, and not know,
Yeah.
where to go. And from a office standpoint, having 400 different people calling your office to try to schedule their own meetings is not good. So it needs to be organized, and so that's what we do. Anything logistically, we can get it done for you on Capitol Hill.
So now, when I was talking to you on the phone, you also said that you were an entertainer.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, now go figure.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I live two lives. I live the life of being on the Hill, working on the Hill, and then when I'm not doing that, I'm traveling. I'm on an airplane traveling all over the Southeast playing music. And so I'm very fortunate to be doing that. We're going on 10 years of playing music, and we've entertained Susan Sarandon. We've entertained executives. We've entertained a lot of good folks, and we've played in a lot of awesome venues, from the Fillmore to the House of Blues. We've been very fortunate.
Oh my goodness. So I have to ask this, because you were a young person, and I have to ask you, who are your role models?
I think my role model is my grandfather. He was a wonderful man, and he was genuine, and he passed that on to me. Just do what's right, be genuine. And so even in my daily life, the things we talked about some 20 years ago, I still remember them,
Really?
and I still apply them in my life.
So what's your philosophy? What's Travis Worthy's philosophy?
That nobody's perfect, and as soon as you realize that, the easier it is for you to move on with your life.
No one's perfect.
No one's perfect. No one's perfect. And I think that is a good balance, because a lot of times as humans, we have the tendency to want to say or point the finger at someone else. And then when you realize that, you're not perfect either, you just don't do it,
Yes.
Yeah, and you can move on. My hope for folks is that you just can live life to its fullest and just move on.
Oh my goodness.
Move on.
And then the other question I have is that, what's your goal in terms of you're moving, you're doing some great things already. Mm-hmm. What is your life goal? Have you thought about what your goal?
I've always thought about my life goals. I think what makes me so interesting to people is that I was only working for the congressman for 4 months before I was offered a job in the private sector.
Wow.
And then I think another thing what makes me interesting to people is that we spend every other weekend sometimes on the road flying to go play music, to come back to Capitol Hill to put on the
getting people
back again. But my overall goal in life, I think, is that I would like to stay and pursue a career in politics, but behind the scenes. I would want to probably run for mayor back in Myrtle Beach or Union, South Carolina. Something small on that level. But if from the Capitol Hill standpoint, I would like to stay in politics, but be behind the scene.
But be behind the scenes. You're like amazing. So someone's out there watching. I have a lot of young people who are watching, and they're going to look at you and they're going to like, I want to be Travis Worthy. Tell me.
Yikes.
Yikes. Okay. But what could they do? No, you're great. What do they need to be doing so they can one day, maybe work, on Capitol Hill, then, have a great, job working in a private firm, and then also pursuing the dream because you are passionate about your music. So what advice do you have?
Go get your education.
Okay.
It's very important because I initially started off I went to college, left college, said I don't need a college degree. And it was then when my mentor said to me, you need to go back to college. And no lie, I graduated college and everything started to happen.
Oh my
So
word.
if I had went to college 6-7 years earlier, it would have happened 6-7 years earlier. So for me, I was my biggest holdback.
Wow.
It wasn't someone else holding me back. It was me holding myself back.
Okay. So you're saying go to college.
Yes. Pursue an education.
Pursue education.
I don't care if it takes you forever to do it. You're never too old to go back to get a degree.
Love
you
it.
have to get your education. And so
Yes.
if you're young, that's the best time to do it. Do it then. Do it then. Because I waited, and there's a lot of opportunities I missed out on. Had a friend one time who would go to his dad and ask his dad over and over and over to interview me for jobs. And his dad would bring me in to interview me. Travis, you're qualified. But then when he would be in front of all of his friends or the staff members that decided on hiring, I didn't have a college degree.
You didn't have a college degree.
Education is very important.
Well, what a wonderful way. I know our viewers are going to see this and they will say, I need to do the same thing. So if you're thinking about education and going back to school, you're a true testament. I'd like to thank you for being here on this show. You were absolutely wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. I'd like to thank our guests for coming on the show. Each of you displayed dedication and commitment that makes a person successful. It is an inspiration to others. So I'd like to leave you with a quote from Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. For show information, please see ingridsworld.org. And I thank you for watching. This episode of Ingrid's World is funded by Anane Education. Anane Education is an educational services firm located in Springfield, Virginia. The company's mission is to aid educators in creating more effective learning environments. We'd like to thank them for sponsoring this show.